city staff, we review state and federal guidelines to protect our water resources, our tributaries, the environmentally sensitive areas in our wildlife habitat. Like I said, I've been working with U.S. fish on scrub jay habitat since 2005. It's just kind of been it's just become a passion of mine, I don't know, in working with people. There's a lot of fear that comes with when they find out they have a protected or threatened species on their property, whether it's just the landowner or whether it's the real estate people. There's a lot of misinformation and a lot of fear, and so they come to the city and we kind of help walk them through it. There's nothing to be afraid of. We'll walk you through it, but it's just there's a lot of education that needs to be had about what happens when I've got a threatened or protected species on my property.
You throw a party.
You throw a party.
That's what I do.
Well, somebody wanting to build a house would probably not do that. That's not how they see it, but it's really about calming people's fears and just working through it with them and helping them get through the state agencies and the permitting process. All developments are required to submit reports for endangered and threatened species for large-scale commercial developments. It's just part of our review packet. A lot of times, most developments, I'm surprised, I don't think I've seen one that hasn't had a gopher tortoise on their property that needed to be moved, mitigated.
Michele, you said every time a big development happens, you do have an agent, a surveyor that comes and looks for that?
They have to hire an environmental specialist to come and survey their property, deliver a report to the city of Northport so that we can review it, and then if they've got gopher tortoises, there's just a certain amount of time that that they have in that cycle to relocate those. The permits are only good for a certain period of time, so it's a lot of timing for them. But so we need to see all of the species on their property. Land clearing is a large part of neighborhood development services, and they do require a permit and proof of compliance with all state and federal regulations as well. And again, and a lot of times, and I know that our arborist will actually walk a lot of these sites. We may get a report, but our arborist walks the site too. He walks every single commercial site with the developer. So he's
Now we just need to get somebody that does that for the tortoises.
Yeah, he's very vigilant. He's very diligent.
To be doing.
Yeah.
And actually, when he does walk the site, if he does see them, he will note them. And then, like you said, we do have the GIS system that we're using through John Kalsbeck, where if somebody sees them, they're going to put them in the system and ping them, upload them to our website, and then we have record of where they are.
Well, and it's also the single family lots, and Ryan goes out. Actually, I'll do the little plug there. Before too long, I gotta either clone Ryan or get another employee for the same kind of passion, because it's so important. That initial before people, they give us a tree survey, and I'll guarantee you, about a quarter of them actually have a true tree survey by the time you get done. He walks the lot, not only looks at the trees, but looks for different types of not just the tortoises, but snakes, for different types of thing that may be, and that happens before the land clearing permit is issued. So, but he's getting stretched pretty thin with the activity, picking up in those single family lots area as well. How's that for a look?
That's good.
That's a good one. And again, we work with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I've been working with the biologist there for 10 years. I've got a great, we've worked together so long, that they're great to work with. They give great advice, and when we get a permit that's on a scrub jay lot, we send it through, and we've developed a really good program, and we've put it on our website, and it's really helped. At one point in time, our phones were ringing off the hook. I mean, like literally 15, 20 calls a day. And once we put this program together with the help of U.S. Fish, maybe once a month, because it's pretty self-explanatory, or we've educated most realtors to, to look it up themselves. We do have a TDR program, transfer of development rights. If somebody's got an environmentally sensitive item on their lot, we do offer a program where they can transfer their development rights so that they can preserve that space, but they can add density somewhere else. Heron Creek used it a couple years ago, and they had an environmental issue, and they were able to give those rights somewhere else to preserve it, but then they were able to add a little bit of density as well. So, I think we'll probably relook at that program because we really only had Heron Creek use it, and it's a great program. We have sending and receiving zones, and you protect this over here, but you can gain density over. You can buy this lot that maybe has a wetland on it, and in return you can take that density and you can put it towards your property, so it preserves what needs to be preserved, and you get the density that you need over here. But we might need to relook at that and see why nobody's using it. But habitat conservation plan. I've worked with Sarasota County. We've looked at having an HCP in the city of Northport. We haven't gotten there yet because we just really we're struggling with how to where is it along the creek, how is that going to work, but we've had several meetings with the county, so we'll see how that goes. And again, the GIS for gopher tortoises. And again, I wanted to bring this up, I've been talking to Sarasota County this month. They do have funds in their budget this year to redo their scrub jay survey, and they are going to include the city of Northport in that survey. And so I sent them our scrub jay areas, and so their team is going to go and look at our areas because our data is outdated. It was from 2006. Birds don't stay there. They don't stay in the little lines that we give them. They shift to the left, they shift to the right, they get killed off.
It's kind of hard to make them understand that,
You would be surprised, people think, well, I'm not on the list, I'm good. Well, no, you're a property owner. If you see habitat that is threatened or endangered, it's your responsibility to call the proper authorities. You cannot think that the city of Northport, is going to have, that they're going to stay in those little parcel numbers that we've given you. But,
I get a lot of birds up my bird feeder. Edie's jealous of me because I get some birds. So if I see a scrub jay, I'll call you personally.
Awesome, I'll give you my card.
Okay.
They won't be eating out of your feeder.
Well, you never know, but I see all kinds of stuff out there. So.
Yeah, and there are habitat out in the eastern part of the city because there's no building going on, and I would venture to guess that we'll probably see that habitat is expanded. But on the Ponce area, there's habitat out there also, but there's been a lot of construction activity. I would hopefully they've moved off to Deer Prairie Creek, but I've been told that they kind of set up roots and they really don't move. They end up getting killed by birds.
They need fire.
But they need fire.
Every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, so I don't know if we really have, we are a city and they're on platted lots. And I would really struggle to see where the city is prime habitat for them. I would hope that they would make their way towards those large preserve areas where they've got that room. But until we see the survey, I believe this is going to happen this year. So I'll be interested to see what the data comes back at, just to see, and it's helpful to the citizens too, because, we're making them do a survey. Every single person who's noted on the scrub jay inventory has to do a survey before they can even submit a building permit. And if we've got new data that says they've shifted or moved, then, then we just have better data and people aren't spending money that they don't need to, and that we're protecting the areas that need to be protected.
Michele, can you keep us in the loop about that survey?
Mm-hmm.
That would be really interesting.
I can.
Yeah, because I've seen one out at Tippy Canoe, and they're just amazing.
The one that we had was done by the scrub jay expert out at the Archibald facility in the middle of the state. He came with a whole crew and they surveyed the entire city of Northport. What they did was when they found the bird families, they did a 25 acres around each one, and then that was the habitat. Sarasota County was using a system that wasn't working for us, a potential habitat, where we use actual habitat. So, you know, it's just working, it's really working well for the city of Northport.
They're just
Yeah.
such beautiful birds too.
They are beautiful birds. You know, there's some work that the city needs to do, you know, now that the economy's picking up. You know, we need to continue to look at and study our wildlife corridors. You know, we need to compile, you know, we can compile all the data that the developers are giving us, and we can use that to see, you know, what some of the habitat, but we really haven't seen anything, you know, out of the ordinary at this point in time. But when we get up into those places where nobody's been, I mean, I know there's a rookery out here. There was a survey done, 06, I know, the Orange Hammock Slough, there's a bird rookery out here, and, you know, but it's really wet and hard to get to. But that's good, because they're left in peace,
Yep,
they're doing what
that's
they
right.
need to do, and nobody knows they're there, and so we just kinda leave them be. It's a beautiful area up there for all kinds of wildlife, and, I mean, that's a huge, it's 5,200 acres that they are left, that whole area is left what they're doing, until somebody buys it.
I know.
Just till somebody buys it. Just, you know, I don't wanna paint you a rosy picture, because that's the
Maybe it
reality
won't
of what we're
get,
doing
maybe
here.
it won't get developed.
Maybe you can acquire it.
Yeah, that's what we need to
There's
do.
a buyer out there.
We'll
Yeah.
get a Kickstarter going.
I'm not gonna make you promises I can't keep. Animal underpasses is interesting, you know, when we're looking at, road construction is something that maybe we can look at, and again, we need to work towards, a tree canopy study. You know, we've got some things, we've got some things in our code, some goals that we've set for ourselves, and, you know, as we get more staff and we, you know, we're able to do these things and, you know, and get back into long-range planning so that we can build that foundation in the ULDC. It'd be interesting, and I know Ryan would probably like to see that too. We've talked about it together, you know, just kind of seeing where the study is and where we're going, and if, you know, and based on that, if we need to make any adjustments to our code. That's all I have. I knew I would talk for over an hour, and I
Wonderful,
did.
that coffee
Sorry. I know. Once I get going.
Very good job.
Scott and I are open for any questions if you have any, and we'll put a map up here, because again, it's easy to talk to the map. Talk to the map.
What options do we have about the basic problem of neighborhoods going in and the wildlife suffers? It's because of the pets and so on that people bring with them. Are there any alternatives to this? Because it's one thing to plan, say in West Villages, to plan for this, but it's kind of like a downward spiral for the wildlife.
It is, the bird, the cats eat the bird.
I guess pound for
Dogs
pound.
like to play with tortoises.
Well, we need to just educate people to manage their pets better.
Yes.
Because, I
Yeah.
mean, if you leave a cat outside, the
And-
average
and that
lifespan of an
pound for
outside cat's
pound,
4 years.
I think recently
People don't
they,
realize that.
They put a camera on a cat. Did you see that thing? It was they put a camera on the cat, and the thing would kill between 13 to 14 creatures a day.
Yep.
It could be varied from birds.
If it moves,
to
they'll go after it.
butterflies
Yep.
to but it would just go out just to kill, and it had a plate of food waiting for it.
Yeah, I would struggle to tell you that
I
we
just,
could regulate, domesticated animals in
Education.
neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's education, exactly.
Yeah,
Educate, not
yeah.
regulate.
Debbie?
I'm curious, I know that you mentioned a couple of times about if you had additional staff. I know you guys do a great job, what you have to do and what you have to work with. I'm curious, because ecotourism is becoming this up and coming thing, and I would love Northport to lead the way for not only the area, but the state and the country, because of our uniqueness. Do you guys have a ecotourism professional, experts, I don't know what other word to use, on staff to help you reach these goals, to help you preserve and develop Northport
I
in the
don't,
way of
right, I
ecotourism.
don't think we have an ecotourism expert on staff, but what we really need is, what can work is an advocate for a particular item, that, you know, and that's kind of what happens in my office, is you take a topic and it just, you envelop yourself in it and you become passionate about it, and it becomes yours. And then it becomes yours to do with what you need to do in order to learn everything you can about it. What are the goals and objectives that you need to do in order to implement, reasonably implement, and then how much is this going to cost to implement, and then putting together some sort of a game plan that you can present to your community leaders and your commissioners and say, this is what I'm looking at, and just have that discussion. Is this something that you think we could do, or could we start looking at possible funding? And typically things come in phases because of the size and scope and the growth of the city. It really becomes a matter of priority. And I get ecotourism is definitely, I hear it a lot. I hear, and I know these two are you know, have told me that it is an up and coming priority, and I get it. And I think that we're moving in that direction because we're putting money into the, like I said, the kayak launches, that park, the purchasing of all the land along the Myakatchee Creek, and then turning that into a linear park. We're investing over $200,000 in a bridge to take all the horseback riders and mountain bikers up into the Carlton Preserve, but more needs to be done. But I would say we just need to find, you know, that staff person that has that interest, because that's, to me, it moves through passion. You know, when you're passionate about it, it doesn't die, no matter what our workload is. When it means something to you, and that's what I see in my department, and I see it in other departments, whether it's economic development or community outreach, planning or building. We take these topics and we run with them, and they become ours, and we become an advocate for it. So that's probably what we need, is we need an advocate for this type of use, and I would say that's probably something that should come from planning staff. So, you know, I'll definitely keep it in mind and look at my staff and see who has that aptitude to take it to another level.
Yeah, because not only would the staff be helpful because of the inner workings of government, they would know the inner workings of government, but like organizations like EDIs, you know, and other environmental organizations would be a very good tool to use both sides.
We can't do, you know, we can't do anything alone,
Right.
you know, and I've learned that the hard way. Nothing is done alone. You need to reach out, you need to learn, you need to, you know, and it kind of fuels you when other people are passionate about it, and it kind of gives you fuel to keep going. So, no, I agree. I think we can definitely work towards that, and it's definitely important to pull in other people who have that expertise, because, you know, it's just, when they're excited about it, they fuel it with other people, and if the community's excited about it, now you have something to present, you know?
Alright,
Yeah,
time to cut her off.
yeah.
That's what I heard.
Is that what time is it, Scott?
Oh, that's right.
It's 7:30.
We forget that when we
Right.
just